What's going on, guys? So the day of me having a giant hole in my dash are no more, because I got me a new radio and some speakers, and not just any radio, an Apple CarPlay radio. Now, before I jump into installing the sound system, I do want to clean up this interior very well and get it ready for some sound editing under the carpet. So I'm gonna go ahead and start by taking out the necessary parts and pieces to get access to under the carpet, and then I'll start laying some sound editing. Okay, I got the center trim off, I got the seats out, I unbolted these things right here. I don't really know what these are for. If you guys know, let me know down in the comments. I believe all that's left for me to do to take this carpet out is taking those two bolts off that hold the strap, and then taking this trim piece off here. And I don't know if that nut is holding on to the carpet, but we'll see. So I went ahead and vacuumed the carpet so that way it's nice and clean before I remove it. And before I remove the carpet, I also need to remove these. And I forgot to mention the seat belts. So this kind of explains why my car smells like a 90s Toyota. Look how filthy this is. This is just all dirt and some light rust. And some of this insulation is actually sticking, especially this one. This one came off the carpet and stuck to here. So I'm gonna go ahead and rip off the insulation, try to scrape up as much of the insulation as possible. Use this this brush right here, this drill brush and cleaner, and kind of clean it as best as I can before I start laying all the sound editing. Guys, look at this. What a freaking difference. It is so much cleaner in here. It is not perfect, but it is way cleaner than it was before, and the car should smell a little less. So now I'm gonna go ahead and install some sound editing. The sound editing that I'm using is by Noiko, and I have some leftover ones from Amazon Basics, so it's kind of a mix and match. This stuff is basically the same stuff, so I'm gonna go ahead and install that right now. So all the sound editing is installed. I have already washed the carpet. Right now it's drying. So while it dries, I'm gonna focus my attention on making a mount for the rear speaker. So on the rear, I'm gonna be using a 4-inch speaker because that seems to be the only speaker that'll fit in this spot. And I have made me one of these. This is a piece of cardboard I cut out, and I lined up the holes using tape to help me and some paper and whatnot so I can mark it on this cardboard. There we go. I got all the holes lined up. And you can see this is a perfect amount of space for a 4-inch speaker. Okay, so this is the plastic I'm going to be using. This plastic I got from Amazon. This is actually a cutting board. And if you guys seen my previous videos of my Tacoma sound system, I actually use this to mount the amps. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out this section here, split it in half, stack them on top of each other, stick this on top of that, and then cut out the shape. Okay, so here's the final product, and I have one of them installed, and this is pretty thick. I installed this speaker, well, not really installed it, but kind of just set it inside, and I put this cover on, and the tweeter part was actually touching the grill. However, this part of the woofer, I guess, is not touching. These are not the speakers I'm going to be using. The speakers I'm going to be using is a Rockford one, and the tweeter sits inside kind of flush with the speaker, if that makes sense. So hopefully I don't run into that issue. If I do run into the issue of the speaker making contact with the plastic, I am just gonna get a like a 1/4 inch piece of plastic and just make the same exact thing. So these are the 4-inch speakers that I'm gonna be using. As I mentioned, these tweeters are kind of sitting in the cone, which is nice. It kind of helps with clearancing. So let's go ahead and open this. So here we have an instruction manual, and we have both of the speakers here and some hardware. Now these screws might be a little bit too long. Well, not might, but they are a little bit too long for my setup. So I'm gonna go ahead and buy some new screws. And I'm not gonna be using the grill for obvious reasons. So let's go ahead and see how well this fits. So I'm gonna position the speaker like this, so that way the mounting screws are not interfering with these screws. And also the wiring terminals are facing towards the back, so that way I can route the wire around and right there. So now I have both speakers installed. And for those of you guys who are wondering about the wiring, on the right side of the right rear, the red is positive, the white is negative. And believe it or not, on the left side, the black is positive and the yellow is negative. And that is according to the Toyota wiring diagram. Now moving to the front door speakers. As you can see, I have the panel taken off. I'm not going to show you guys how to take the panel off. There are plenty of videos on YouTube on how to do that. The reason why is because some of my hardware is missing, and so I might be missing some steps. So anyways, as you can see, the previous owner had some modifications for their own speakers and tweeter. I'm going to change it. I'm going to just completely scrap this wire and get rid of it. And also, this is the other end of it that goes into the car. It kind of just ripped off. You can see they kind of have this weird setup going on. So I'm just gonna make a fresh wire for this. So I had bought this hoping that I could get these adapters to work with this door, but it won't. And with all these options and features on this adapter, unfortunately, there's just no way to mount on these 3 screw holes. So unfortunately, I hate to do this. I never like to do this, but I am gonna drill into the door panel. As you can see, somebody had already drilled there, which, you know, wanted to avoid it, but we'll make it work. So I got this door speaker in. I got that door speaker in over there. I already have the panel on. In case you guys are wondering about colors, pink is positive, violet is negative, or purple. Purple is negative. And then on that side, light green is positive, and blue is negative. So what's nice about these speakers is that the crossover is actually built into the tweeter. You could see the capacitor in there. So this actually wires straight to the speaker, so there's no need for a big module or a big passive crossover to stick inside the door panel. So highly recommend these speakers for a simple setup. So now I'm gonna throw on the door panel. So the way I'm gonna hold this tweeter into this sail panel right here is by getting this foam insulation tape and laying it completely over the tweeter along with the foam right here and a little bit right here to kind of hold it in, and it will be pressed against this, so it kind of press it in at the same time. And check that out, it popped in no problem. And finally, I'm gonna go ahead and install the radio. Now this radio is an Alpine, this model right here, and it comes with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. So this is a pretty nice budget Apple CarPlay radio. I also have the harness adapters attached right here. These are by Metra. I got this at my local auto parts store. If it's Toyota, here's that part number right there. Now, in order for me to remove this bezel right here, I do, of course, start off with the center console. Once you get that out, there's usually 2 screws under here where the ashtray is at. My car does not have an ashtray. Also, the screws are missing, so I'm gonna skip that step, obviously. There is 1 screw here that is holding on this panel. Now, all we need to do is unscrew this and pop this off a little bit, because this has a lip behind it and you don't want to break it by accident. And once those are released, then this panel should come off. Now, bear with me, I'm working with what I got, so if I'm missing a step, sorry. This may or may not be 100% accurate. And after disconnecting the hazard switch and popping this off, you remove it, set it off to the side. Oh, and by the way, this is the lip thing I was talking about. You see how it sticks out here? It actually sits under here, so that's why we have to pop this down a little bit. So now I'm gonna remove these screws right here. This may be bolts or these may be screws, depending on what you have. Mine, these are aftermarket screws, so Obviously this car's been worked on. And now let's see what we get out of the box. So we got some literature. Let's check out what this is. Cool, so it looks like we have a USB extension here. We have some sticky something. And this comes with a GPS antenna, okay. Some inputs and outputs, harness, microphone, and some hardware. And here's the radio itself. I like how slim it is, so it's easier to fit all the wires behind it. And here's all the connections here. So sweet, let's go ahead and install this. So for those of you who have the factory radio with the factory brackets, you're in luck because you could actually use this. If you don't have the factory radio or the brackets, well, you're out of luck. Just kidding. You might be lucky. They do have some aftermarket Toyota specific in-dash kits. It won't say it's for an MR2, but it will say like 1986 and up Toyota or something like that. It might work, I'm not sure, but luckily I have these brackets. So what I did was, these brackets have these nubs that are sticking out here and here. I have to grind these two down so that way it sits flush with the radio. And this is how I have my bracket set up. This is the right side, the screw is up here, and the screw is right there. Left side, kind of mirroring the right side. Now I'm gonna take this metric kit and splice these wires into this harness for the Alpine radio. Okay, so I have some of my wires connected together. Not all of them, I'm still trying to figure out some things that I wanna do, but at least the main wires to power this thing up and send some signal to the speakers are connected. So let's see if this thing powers on. And look at that, we have power and it looks like everything is working. Okay, so here's what I have so far. All these wires are pretty much color coded. So I have connected each one to their associated color. The only wires I do not have connected so far is this orange and white wire, which is the illumination. The blue and white wire that goes to the amp. This purple and white wire, which goes to the reverse signal. And this yellow and blue wire, which goes to the parking brake. Now this one is interesting, the parking brake one. So you have to wire this to your parking brake, because what Alpine wants is they want a signal of you putting on your parking brake on and off and on in order to access some features. Now I will wire this to my parking brake for now, but later on I will install a bypass, since I don't really want to always have my parking brake on when I want to access my settings. Obviously, this is intended so people don't use the system while driving. I'm not going to make any recommendations on how to wire this, except wiring it according to instruction. And for those of you who are going to go the parking brake route, so you're going to get one of these things. It's like a double spade, and you put it on a spade terminal here. And the connector for this is right there in the middle. There we go, now it's connected down there. And as you can see, when I engage the parking brake, the brake light comes on when I go up and down. And as of right now, that is completely it for the wiring. I do have this other harness which has a rear view camera and a pair of RCAs for the subwoofer. And in a future video, I do plan on putting subwoofers in this car, so I will utilize this later on. But as of right now, I am not going to use it. So for the USB port, I bought one of these from Amazon, and this outer ring right here was actually a cover. I just cut off the cover part because someone was nice enough to drill this completely out and put like some kind of red light in there. So I was thinking they probably put like a shift light or something like that. So got rid of it. We're gonna put this in here and mount it. For the microphone, I went ahead and mounted it right above the steering wheel on the headliner. And the GPS antenna is right here in the corner of the dash, right under the windshield. And as you guys can see, I have Apple CarPlay pulled up in my 90s Toyota. Now, I'm not gonna do a demo on the audio in this video. In the next video, I am gonna be installing some subs and trying to make a custom box for this car. So stay tuned for that, and that's when I'll play the demo. But as far as right now, these speakers kick ass for the price. It looks factory, like nothing happened. So hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.